in the restroom.
This meeting of the Haltom City Council is now in order. Invocation and Pledge of Allegiance, Councilmember Sutton.
Okay, I'd like to introduce to you Guillaume Sorbès. He's a friend of ours. His father is the one that organizes the March for Jesus in Bordeaux, France, and Guillaume is a leader of a Christian group in a university where he attends in France, and he's going to come and lead our invocation at this time. Yeah, no problem.
So, I must pray?
Yes,
Okay.
got it.
Father, thank you to be with my brother in America. Thank you for your love, Jesus. Jesus, I will pray for my brother, for the leader, and all the people here. Thank you for your will. Pray, I want to keep my brother here, and thank you for them because they want to see in the city, and I want bless them. Thank you very much, God. Amen.
Amen. All right, leading the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Now we'll have a couple of presentations. And Mary, I think you're going to meet me down at the dais. This is a proclamation for September Water Awareness Month. Whereas no living thing can exist without water, and whereas more than 10 million Texans rely on the Trinity River as their water supply, and whereas our Texas population grows each year, creating an ever-increasing demand for clean water, and whereas Texans should understand the need to conserve this precious resource and protect it by keeping pollutants from entering the Trinity, and whereas each September since 1992, volunteers from throughout the Metroplex have demonstrated their concern for our river by participating in the Trinity Trash Bash and cleaning the Trinity and its tributaries of litter and debris. And whereas the same participating cities are involved in concerted efforts to educate citizens about water conservation and preservation, now therefore I, Bill Lanford, Mayor of City of Haltom City, Texas, do hereby proclaim September as Water Awareness Month, and do encourage all citizens of Texas to do their part in protecting this precious resource. Mary?
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have this for you.
Oh, yeah?
Join our litter team. And
Oh,
see,
yeah.
in front of you, you'll find our giveaways for
Is
this
this-
year
Does it go like this?
for our volunteers at the Frisbee. See if you can still make it work.
See if who can make it work?
Yeah.
There you
I
go.
have forgotten how totally.
Yeah.
And it has
It
Velcro.
fits. It has what?
Velcro.
Oh, okay. Cool.
There you go. There you go.
You're the target.
Yeah, yeah. Hit the orange target. All right. Well, thank you. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Next, do we have anyone here to receive the National Alcohol and Drug Addiction Recovery Month? I didn't think we did. So I'm just going to read this into the record. Whereas 74% of Americans say that addiction to alcohol or drugs has had some impact on them at some point in their lives, whether it was their own personal addiction, that of a friend or family member, or any other experience with addiction. And whereas educating our community about how substance abuse disorders affect children, families, and all community members is essential to overcoming stigma and discrimination, And whereas we must recognize the achievement of those who seek out treatment services and ensure that such services are readily available to those who need assistance. And whereas substance abuse disorders are a treatable yet serious health problem, and we can take steps to address it and so build a stronger, healthier community. And whereas to help achieve this goal, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Administration, the White House Office of National Drug Control Policy, and the Challenge Coalition all invite residents of Tarrant County to participate in National Alcohol and Drug Addiction Recovery Month. Now I, therefore, William Lanford, Mayor of Haltom City, Texas, do hereby proclaim the month of September 2006 as National Alcohol and Drug Addiction Recovery Month. This is a very important proclamation for me. I have made it public on more than one occasion that I was raised in an alcoholic family, and I can tell you that the outcome of that is for children in an alcoholic family, you don't know what normal is. It becomes skewed, and it's a serious affliction to try to grow up in that kind of condition. And so I want to encourage all families, all people everywhere to recognize alcoholism and drug addiction as treatable. It's not a magic, it's treatable. That means it takes effort, and it takes effort by all those that are involved. And by God's own grace, I was able to come through that and emerge into a what can be argued as a fairly normal life. But again, it was by a lot of grace and some people to help along the way. But I just want to encourage everybody to be aware of that, and to especially encourage and thank those who have been through this addiction and have successfully come through that process. I'm very proud for anybody that has ever done that. That's a wonderful statement about you as a human being, and thank you. I get enough of that target practice anyway. All right, announcements tonight by Fran Burns. Fran?
Thanks, Mayor. The Haltom Senior Center will host a Get Net Safe workshop beginning at 5:30 p.m. Wednesday, August 30th. This free workshop will raise awareness of computing security and internet safety issues for consumers. The program is part of a 12-city tour presented by a coalition of groups including AARP, the Department of Commerce, FTC, Microsoft, U.S. Chamber of Commerce, and others. The workshop will be open to K through 12 students, parents, over 50 and seniors, as well as community leaders. Anyone who uses a computer, basically. For further information, call the Senior Center at 834-8021. There will be a couple of police district meetings this week. The police district number 5 meeting will take place at 7 p.m. Wednesday, August 30th at the Diamond Oaks Country Club. District number 5 is the area bordered by Stanley Keller on the south, Haltom Road on the west, Diamond Oaks Drive on the east, and Western Center Boulevard on the north. The district number 4 meeting will take place at 7 p.m. Thursday, August 31st at the First Baptist Church of Fort Worth, located near Haltom Road exit of Loop 820. District 4 takes in the area from Haltom Road to Beach Street and Stanley Keller Road to Western Center Boulevard. And these meetings are open to anyone, not just those living in those areas or those districts. The library GED program resumes next week, and those interested in enrolling in the program are asked to call, leave their contact information, and they will be contacted by GED instructors to set up class schedules. The number to call at the library is 222-7786. Good news about the recent blood drive benefiting the son of veteran Haltom City firefighter Terry Waters. It was a huge success. A total of 107 citizens donated blood, and 71 were registered for the bone marrow donor program. Waters' son was diagnosed earlier this year with leukemia. Thank you to everyone who came by the Central Fire Station to support this effort, and we believe that that amount of donors is a record for us. And they were so busy registering people for the bone marrow program that they actually had to wait. They had to have people waiting inside to be called down to visit with the people that were taking those registrations. So that's really good. It says a lot about our volunteers here. New playground equipment is being installed in 5 Haltom City parks and is in different stages. While most of the equipment is in place, the finish work continues and includes installation of ground cover under the new equipment and construction of borders around the ground cover. Work in Pecan and Parish parks should be complete by the end of this week. Finish work will continue in Broadway, Little Fossil, and North Parks. And you just heard that the annual Trinity Trash Bash will be held in Haltom City Saturday, September 16th, and volunteers are urged to join the mayor's team and help out clean litter that day. Team members will meet across from Haltom High School and will be assigned an area to clean along Big Fossil Creek or in other areas that accommodate stormwater runoff. To register, call City Hall or visit the city's website to download a registration form. A picnic for volunteers will follow the litter pickup, and of course there'll be giveaways such as Frisbees and other things for volunteers. We hope you'll come out. And lastly, city offices will be closed this Monday, September 4th, in observance of Labor Day. And I thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Fran. Now, is everybody going to get an orange vest that picks up?
Team Haltom?
Yeah, okay, cool. So they too can be a target. Okay. Thank you. Now then, we have a couple of reports. First one is the monthly financial report for July. Joel Welch, our finance director. Joel?
Thank you, Mayor.
Everybody gets up and leave when he gets up there.
Don't go. The best show's starting. Oh, well. I just violated the first rule of presenting to the council, which is I was talking to someone other than the council. Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. Enclosed in your packet is the monthly financial report for the 10 months of the 12-month fiscal year. Report dated July 31st, 2006. I had intended to basically come and talk with the council about the ongoing hot and dry weather. However, since today was neither hot nor dry, never mind. I will move on to some other matters in relation to the monthly report. I want to mention something else that occurs during the month of August that I need to brief you on what has transpired in that area. The recycling contract that the city has with IESI contains a clause that requires that in August of each year, I calculate the average market penetration of recycling, that is, the number of recycling accounts as a percentage of the total number of residential accounts in Haltom City. The contract has a matrix in which that market penetration is the basis for establishing rates for each year. I did that calculation this month, and I've apprised IESI of what's going to be occurring October 1st. And according to the contract, the rates for curbside recycling for a residential contract will go from the current $3.15 to $3.28 on October 1st. For senior citizens, it will go from $1.57 to $1.64. I would mention for the record that the recycling contract is going to begin on October 1st, its last year. The contract will end September 30th, 2007. IESI has indicated an interest to execute a new addendum to the existing collection contract for continuing recycling collections for the remainder of the regular collection contract, that being a 4-year period, so that the recycling and the regular collections would end at 9/30/2011. And so that's something that'll be ongoing, and we'll be probably coming back to you during the course of the next year with a solution or a recommended solution for the council to continue. Meanwhile, moving back to the budget report,
Excuse me, Mr. Welch. Ms. Branson?
I did have a question about the ISI recycling. Would you like for me to ask it now, or after you're through with your report? Which would you prefer?
Mayor, you're...
Oh, go ahead.
Okay. Well,
Interrupting you.
I was just wanting to know if the city's getting the reports. ISI is supposed to be providing reports on recycling to Fran Burns, and I was just wondering, are we getting those reports? I know we've had some challenges in the past with getting them.
I do not know if Fran's getting the reports that she's supposed to be getting on the recycling.
The assistant city manager's nodding his head yes. So.
She is getting them now? Okay, good. I just wanted to, thank you.
I will say that as far as complaints with ISI over the past year, normally when complaints or situations occur that would result in a complaint, that the complaints are supposed to go to ISI, and if the person does not receive satisfaction, then they're to contact the city. In the past year, to my knowledge, in talking with the city manager and with the business office manager, that we have actually had 2 complaints, one of which was resolved within 24 hours. The other one, I presume was resolved. We did not do a follow-up to find out whether it was resolved within 24 hours or not, but there's been nothing come back on the other matters. So to my knowledge, both matters that came up in the past year, one of them has definitely been handled rapidly and to the satisfaction of the customer, and the other one, since we've heard nothing else about it, apparently was handled properly. But moving back into the monthly report, I am going to partially, because talking about the year end is really appropriate as we get to really close to the year end now, and partially due to the fact that you're going to have to hear me at least 2 more times tonight, which is certainly enough for anyone. I just want to talk about projecting through to the end of the year on the major operating funds. At this point, it's very easy to report that the funds are in a good financial shape, that we haven't had any surprises, that we haven't had any adverse impacts that are going to affect the year end. If you went through the report, you can see that there's a very good chance that we could be adding over $900,000 to the general fund balance this year. This would occur for a combination of reasons, one of which is that sales tax continue to be double-digit above last year, 11.4% in the general fund. We had more than we expected in the franchise taxes because of the settlement with TXU, and we've also had a situation where operating expenses have been handled very well by the departments. We have the ongoing issue with the fuel and parts. The parts situation is not mitigating. The fuel situation is slightly better than it was. As you know from your own purchases, the price has been coming down recently. My understanding for the lowered prices is because for the second month in a row, China is buying about 6% less fuel than they did a year ago, and that's having a market effect on fuel prices in the market worldwide. It's helping a great deal. But overall, the general fund looks like it's going to wind up in a very strong position. The fund balance percentage could be above 25%, possibly as much as 28%. The water and sewer fund sales are about 13% higher than last year on water, and that of course is due to the weather conditions which have persisted much of this year, today notwithstanding. Our wastewater sales are going to come in right about budget. And the expenditure side of the Water and Sewer Fund is, again, the department head is staying within the budget and probably going to come in just slightly below the budget. So coupling higher than expected revenues with a good stewardship in the budget will mean a healthier finish to the Water and Sewer Fund as well. A possibility of as much as perhaps $1.6 million. I say that with a degree of caution, and that this is occurring purely and simply because of weather that is not normal, not even close to normal. For up until today, I was ready to come here and tell you tonight that we were continuing to hold to our pattern of having a weather pattern that has not been seen of this magnitude in nearly 100 years, back to 1909, 1910. And even though we've had rain today, that's just one day, and it's very possible that this could persist a little bit longer. But, and it could also go back to 45 inches of rain next year, which would cause our rates not to handle the expenditures. And so we probably have to give some of this gain back. So it does help our position in the Water and Sewer Fund, but now we have a reserve in case weather returns to normal patterns. That means we won't have to make sudden and painful rate adjustments. In the drainage utility, it looks primarily due to expenditures coming in below budget that we'll be adding to the fund balance in the drainage utility as well. The revenue stream is very flat in the drainage utility, so we have to watch it very carefully. And in this particular case, we might add as much as $120,000 to the fund balance by the end of the year. And that's a little bit better than what we expected for the year. We expected a slight drawdown in the fund balance, but it's going to come out all right. The Street Reconstruction Fund is behaving in a very strong fashion. It's benefiting from the 11% increase in sales taxes. We will probably have over $2 million in the fund balance by the end of the year, but we already have that $2 million earmarked for projects to be undertaken in future years. But it is good to know that the resources are there and we'll be able to undertake the projects probably next year. The ones that we don't get started this year or don't get finished this year, we will either start or finish next year. So it's a good position. The Crime Control Fund is probably going to draw down a little bit of fund balance, about $55,000. That is good, actually. We expected originally in the budget for it to draw down much more, and it's going to come in closer than we expected. That's a good thing. The Economic Development Corporation is likely to finish the year with a very strong fund balance. Even with the $1 million of the fund balance that is actually bond money and is restricted as to use, it's very likely that we're going to add a great deal to the fund balance this year, and possibly have a fund balance of about $4 million of unexpended fund balance. Moving on to the investment report. This is the time of year when we're pulling back cash balances down, so it's no big surprise that the portfolio shrank by about $700,000. But as we complete capital projects and continue to draw down the tax dollars that we brought in early this year, it's as I said, it's to be expected that the balances will drop a little bit more before the end of the year. About 54% of the portfolio is invested in agencies and certificates of deposit. The rest of the money is in a pretty liquid state. It's invested in vehicles that mature daily, investment pools, overnight repos, other such things. Very safe, very liquid. The money's available every day if we need it. The average yield of the portfolio is 4.43%. And it's a little bit better than it was in June. We continue to creep up. The strength of that, of course, is in our overnight money because it's more able to respond to the market than our fixed investments. We're falling a little bit far behind our benchmark. Our benchmark is now 4.95%. I don't expect our benchmark to move up anymore. In fact, I expect our benchmark to start moving down, even though our portfolio yields will be continuing to move up. And I think we're actually going to get to our benchmark over the next few months. The markets right now are not conducive to making, I think I mentioned a little bit about that in the monthly report, that the markets are not conducive to rates moving much higher right now. So one other thing that I wanted to point out about our portfolio is early this year we had a weighted average maturity, which meant the average maturity of all of our money was around 220 days. And because we have not been buying that many securities this year, we've been leaving the money very liquid. Our weighted average maturity has continued to drift down. It's now in the 156-day range, where it was about 60 days higher just a few months ago. We will be buying some securities as maturities occur between now and the end of the year. And as I said, these will be at better yields than what we've been getting. We are this month we have bought a couple of CDs, $100,000. That's all we buy on a CD, so that we've maintained the FDIC protection. And we bought one today that's a 1 year for 5.6%. And last week we bought a 2 year that would do about 5.7%, which are very, very healthy rates. Very healthy rates.
Thank you, Joel. Any questions for Joel on the monthly financial report? Let's see, Mr. Hutchison.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Welsh. A very good report. I do have a couple of questions that I would like to ask. Let me find the spot where I was. I wrote a question down here. Oh, the street reconstruction fund. I noticed you gave a very good report. Is that going to help us with a large amount of income? Is that going to help us become more aggressive with our reconstruction and our repair charts that we got posted for next year?
Additional revenues up about 11% in the fund is going to be most helpful. And when we take that revenue and we leverage it with the debt issuances that we are going to be asking the council to consider at the next council meeting, that's going to allow us to have, over $1 million in street reconstruction sales tax revenue, $2 million for street bonds, another $3 million to be used for water and sewer projects, part of which is going to be tied to the street projects, another $1 million for drainage improvements, which are curb and gutter, as well as storm drainage around the streets. So yes, I've given you a long answer, but yes, the increased sales tax revenues are going to help with that, but leveraging them with those other things, we're going to have a big boost next year.
I think that's very good news for the citizens who are seeing, I think, clearly that our street repair program and our reconstruction program is a very aggressive one, and it's taken a real priority with respect to this budget.
Yes, sir. We're actually in the budget for next year, pending council's approval of the issuance of certificates of obligation and GO bonds. That the leveraging that I just described, which includes the sales tax money, would result in about $6.6 million of such projects in fiscal year 07.
Another question I had was the weighted average maturity, the portfolio going down to 156 days. Is that because of cash flow problems, or we just need to lay our hands more readily on cash more quickly?
The main reason that or what causes the weighted average maturity to go down is every month as you get closer to the maturities of all your existing investments, that means their number of days left, or the maturity date left on it, goes down. If you don't buy anything new, then the average just continues down. What causes your average to go up is when you're buying 2-year instruments on a regular scheduled basis, and as your other stuff is coming due, its days are going down, but the new purchases days are going out and going higher.
Let me rephrase what I was trying to say. Yeah. I think the reason, it seems to me like the reason why this is happening is because we're attempting to pay down debt a little bit more aggressively than we are trying to buy long-term instruments.
The main reason that we probably are dropping down on our weighted average maturity is because we're spending a lot of our bond money. Actually, that's the main reason, is our bond money's going away as we complete projects. We're paying off our projects. That's
Okay.
actually the main reason.
Okay, I wanted to make sure that the citizens knew that too. You have something here in the supplemental data that I just wanted to ask a question. You may not know what the reason behind this. It says the unemployment rate jumped from 0.8% to 5.61%. Any explanation for that?
Jumped from?
It says rate jumped, 0.8% to 5.61.
No, sir, we haven't researched exactly why it happened. We're just getting comfortable with making sure that we get it in each month, but we're going to start studying it to be able to talk about it more.
Okay, thank you very much. I didn't mean to put you on the spot. I just wanted to find out something. Thank you.
Joel, not to belabor the point, but certainly one of the reasons I could think of to have your average maturity go down is when your short-term rates are at or near long-term rates, and you expect long-term rates to move upward, it would make sense to hold on to short-term issuances until you get it to see the long-term moving out away from the short-term returns. Does that impact you at all?
Mayor, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
That it's because of our unique situation, it has not been something that we have actually done. But what you're talking about is actually quite true in the market. And that is when people are anticipating that rates are going to move upward, they tend to buy short.
Sure.
And when they expect rates to go down, they start investing out longer so that their market or their portfolio yield stays up when the market begins to nosedive. And so right now has been or up until recently has been one of those times when the rates were moving up. Well, now the curve is flattened, and as of the last few weeks, market yields on investments have been going down. They've fallen precipitously, in fact.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Any other questions for Joel? Okay, entertain a motion to accept. Yeah, Mr. Cabano.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I have a motion to accept the monthly financial reports for July as stated.
And Mr. Sutton.
That's for a second.
It's been moved and seconded to accept the financial report for July 2006. Any discussion? Please register your vote. And that is unanimous. Next up, Mr. David Fain, going to present the capital improvement status report. Mr. Fain?
Thank you, Mayor, and members of the council. There's several items I'd just like to brief you on. The first one would be the update of the Paris-Salona project. As you well know, that was the this year's community development block grant program administered by Tarrant County. The block grant program provides $100,000 toward the project. I'm here to say that we are substantially complete with that project. I think even Mr. Soriano is going to show our viewing audience some pictures of this particular project. The pictures he's showing now, I believe, is actually, that may be Parrish, I'm not real sure. And that's when they're milling the street. And then he'll show the picture of the overlay after that. Nice driving surface of Parrish. And then we'll continue to show pictures of Salona. That particular picture is before any milling. That's the condition before milling and overlay. And then there's the picture of the overlay. As he continues to show pictures, part of this project was to install playground equipment, and the playground equipment has been installed. There's a few minor things that need to complete, such as the cushioning below the playground equipment. And these playground equipment is located at two different parks. One is Pecan Park, which is close to Salona, and the other particular park is Parish Road Park, which is located on Parish Road. Here again, as you well know, the council awarded this project on June the 6th of 2006. The total project cost is $247,497. And I think he's about through with those pictures, so we'll go to the next item. The next item is an update on the Browning and Dunson traffic signal. I know Mr. Hutchison was wanting that particular item completed by the start of school, and unfortunately our contractor has not performed that duty as we would like to have seen. That project was awarded on March 13th of this year. The total project cost is $116,620, and we anticipate him completing the project by the end of September of this year. The contractor does state he is on schedule. The next project is a mill and overlay. The council awarded this project on July the 24th of this year, and the total project cost is $862,634. Great project. We're overlaying 15 streets in the community, and we have begun this project. The contractor has milled Moneta and has milled and overlaid part of Midway from Carson to Thomas. It would be unbelievable once this particular street is overlaid. It's been in poor condition for many years. The contractor estimated completion date is November 6th of this year. The next project, the council also awarded this particular project of reconstruction of Vicky, Glenhaven, Bewley, and Harris on July 24th of this year, a total project cost of $2,103,000. The contractor has not started as of this date. He has 300 days to complete this project. Streets will be reconstructed, which will include utility replacement, water, sewer, and storm drains. Except on Bewley, the utilities have already been replaced just a few years ago. And the notice of proceed has not been issued as of this date. The next project, we've talked about it for many months, and I really don't have any update. We're waiting for funding from the Corps. And I know Mr. Muir has met. He may even want to provide some comments
Let me
on that particular
interrupt
project.
there for a minute. He's already making me look bad by putting pictures in the report. I never provided you guys pictures when I did this, so he's already making me look bad. Yeah, he's already making me look bad. Mr. Fain and I met with Representative Granger's chief of staff last week.
Yes, it was.
I think it was last week. They've heard me talk on the phone many times about don't forget us with the Trinity Uptown project. Don't forget us with funding for our project, because we did lose our funding a year or so ago. And it's been reestablished for 2007. We've got almost $1 million programmed through the Corps for the Little Fossil Creek project, and that's what we were expecting, and we anticipate that to continue to be there. But Representative Granger's chief of staff reiterated the representative's commitment to the project, and that she really wants to see this thing finished, and we're going to help remind her and her staff of the importance of that project to our citizens on the South. Go ahead.
Thank you. The next project is Big Fossil Creek study. Here again, I have really no update. I've actually put a phone call into the COG to try to recreate or stir up some interest, if you will, to at least give us an update on where that is. And they told me they will provide me some updates. So hopefully by our next CIP report, I'll have a better update for you. Next project is Skyline Mobile Home Park. This project is substantially complete. There's just some issues with the contractor coming back and repairing some of the ditches that have sunken, and the city attorney is working on that for us. Highway 377 water main project. Next month we will bring to the council to award a bid for this particular project. This was pushed back a fiscal year because of funding, but in the fiscal year 07 we'll begin this project. The next project is a project that our construction department is undertaking. It's replacing the water and sewer line on Tracy from Janata to Stanley Keller. They are substantially complete with the with the sewer and the water. They are placing in the services as we speak. The estimated completion is 60%. We will go back in another month and we will overlay that street. The library, I don't know if the assistant city manager has any other update, but I know that the preliminary design was presented to the council for any type of review and comment at the last meeting. Any other particular updates?
Well, let me throw in, and you can add something to it. What the council saw last time was a schematic of the preliminary design, and those same plans have been presented to the library board in a little bit better detail, and it's been met somewhat favorably. I think it's a fair statement, and we've still got quite a bit of more work to do, but we seem to be on the right path for what the library board's wanting. Mr. Hutchinson, is that somewhat accurate? You were there at that meeting as well.
Yes, if you, and don't let me interrupt if you were going to say something, Mr. Assistant City Manager. You couldn't have said it better, except for he doesn't have any pictures, and Mr. Faines does. In any case, I think it was probably better received by the library board than what we perceived at first, and they're really excited, and we're, I was excited to hear from them about some of the suggestions, and some of the things that we saw, and some of the details are going to be, I think, will have a very modern and very updated, if you will, type of building that the city will not only benefit the city, but will benefit the citizens who visit the library at the same time. I'm really excited about it.
The next project for an update is the Animal Show Repair Project. This project is substantially complete except for the floor in the area where the animals are kept. We are reevaluating this particular process to see what would be best long-term for this particular floor. Presently, it has been painted. We don't know if repainting the surface or stripping the surface and coming back with a seal would be best, but we're actually studying it. I've been talking with an architect who designs animal shelters, and actually going to take a visit to the Watauga Animal Shelter tomorrow, which is a brand new facility, to see what they have done to their floor. Just don't want to go in there and not do it right the first time. But hopefully this time next month in the report we'll tell you we're complete with that project. With that said, I'll entertain any questions.
Mr. Sutton.
Thank you. I've got to beat this drum. The Big Fossil Creek Consortium Study Project, the last 3 months we've been hearing that we're going to get hydrology data from the Corps. And I understand that we probably haven't gotten that hydrology data yet.
That is correct. That's why I thought it was prudent that I put in a call to the COG, okay, who's working with the Corps. We need to do something. We need to move forward. Or
the COG has also been a slowdown on that. The COG is culpable in this, and the COG is being a little less than forthcoming in dealing with this particular project.
They're actually going to provide me with a PowerPoint presentation, so I can at least have an update, so we can provide you with some type of update.
Are we at the place where the city, can start coming up with some options or some stopgap measures for the erosion there? Because while we're been doing this, the erosion problem, I mean, people's yards they're losing their yards.
I think that has been addressed before. That is really private property, and I just don't know if the city is ready to make a decision if we're going to start
it is
saving
that's
those yards.
Correct. But that whole bank along there is an opportunity too.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering if it's time that the city just look and see if there's something that would benefit the entire community.
Well, I think that's what the project's supposed to be doing, is because you got to look at what's coming upstream and then where it's going to be going downstream. If we just do a fix for that, we may not be fixing anything. We may just be throwing a lot of money into something.
And I certainly don't want to do that. I don't want to do that.
With the lack of rain we've had,
it's been a blessing.
There's been no erosion going on there yet. After today, maybe a little bit, as dry as it's been.
I'm just wondering if we need to, bat around some alternatives.
And we're a little bit of a disadvantage because that's what this project's supposed to be doing.
I know.
And
what
that's
I'm saying
something
is
we can pursue.
We're not getting the information.
And that's what he's pointing out. He's frustrated with it, and we're going to take a different tact with dealing with the COG. Now, maybe it's not as aggressive as what certainly some people like. Certainly those homeowners up there like us to get real aggressive, and it's just something we're not in a position to do right now.
And saying that, there's other erosion problems in Haltom City that could be addressed too, along with. I mean, this isn't the only one. So,
no, it's not, but it's clearly a significant one, being a Big Fossil up there. It's especially at that bend. It's a lot of water hitting it pretty forcefully, especially during a storm. It's hitting it very, very forcefully.
And that's definitely an issue we have to address all over the community. What stand do we take as staff and as a council?
Right.
Because we'll look at a lot of private property to repair.
And we don't want to necessarily get into that, but I think that we do need to, it's the water that the city
it's going through the park that's causing the erosion. So we can't solve it here, but it would be nice to start thinking about whether the staff needs to begin addressing some alternatives rather than going the way we're going. Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Fain?
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Next up is the consent agenda. The consent agenda is considered to be self-explanatory and will be enacted by the council with one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless they're removed from the consent agenda. Approval of the consent agenda authorizes the city manager to implement each item in accordance with staff or board recommendations. You have before you the consent agenda, items 3 through 6. Mr. Hutchison.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I'd like to make a motion that we accept the consent agenda, items 3, 4, 5, and 6, as stated.
And Ms. Reese.
Thank you, and that would be for a second with just one request that next year we look better at maybe the prescription copay type issues of our insurance.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so noted. Any other discussion for the consent agenda? Okay, it's been moved and seconded. We accept the consent agenda. Please register your vote. And that is unanimous. Next is public hearing. Final plat P01006 to conduct a public hearing and consideration action on the application of Quick Trip for the final plat of proposed Lot 2R Block 1 Glenview Commons Edition. James, you want to tell us about that?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor, members of the council, citizens of Haltom City. We're here to conduct a public hearing and consideration and or action on the application of Quick Trip for the final plat of proposed Lot 2R Block 1 of the Glenview Commons Edition. Being a replat of Lot 1 Block 1 in the C2 Commercial District, which contains approximately 1.25 acres of land and will be located at the northwest corner of Glenview Drive and Denton Highway. The applicant is creating a 54,000 square foot corner lot, which is proposed Lot 2R, out of Lot 1 Block 1 Glenview Commons Edition. The old Lot 1 was formerly a Winn-Dixie grocery store and until recently a furniture showroom known as Afforded Furniture. Proposed Lot 2R will be a Quick Trip convenience store with retail gasoline sales. The plat was recommended for approval to the City Council by the Planning and Zoning Commission on their August 8, 2006 meeting. There was a long discussion at P&Z over the landscape plan. We've included those changes in the submitted plan tonight. So therefore, I'm submitting the final plat for your approval, the site plan, the exact location of the store and the accoutrements, and the landscape plan. This will be the third Quick Trip, if accepted tonight, in Haltom City. There's one located north of 820 on Beach. We saw one about 2 months ago at the Northeast 28th and Beach, and this one, of course, will be located at Glenview and Denton Highway. Mr. Joe Faust is here. He's the representative of Quick Trip, and I'm certain he'll have some comments as well.
Any questions? Yeah, Ms. Branson.
Turning on the wrong light. We discussed in pre-council about the building and its accessibility in the back behind Quick Trip, the old Winn-Dixie building. Would you share
Sure, I'll be glad to.
all the details
Right,
that we discussed back there?
And Mr. Faust will as well. They located the store. There was some concern of the location of the store blocking the old Winn-Dixie. And Quick Trip worked with the property owner as they carved out this piece to move the building further south as possible to not create that blind spot, so to speak. Also on the plat, there are extensive mutual access easements that are shown there that will be filed separately other than this plat because they're off of the platted area. In addition, in the site plan tonight, we also indicate off-site preparation of the old parking lot to accent this access easements and the parking of any other use that will move into the old Winn-Dixie. So yes, we did look at that during the platting and planning process, and economic development has looked at this issue as well.
And then the gentleman that owns that they're purchasing the property from understands the visibility.
Yes, they
issue.
worked closely with them on that.
Okay,
That's correct.
thanks.
Yes.
Any other questions for Mr. Pliska? Ms. Reese?
Yes, I've got several, and I don't know who all's going to answer these, so
Sure.
I'm going to just throw them out there.
Sure.
One of my biggest concerns, and it's, Quick Trip would be nice to see there, but there's a lot of little bitty stores, and it's more than the one I had mentioned to you when I caught you up here. But my concern is we're going to fill one spot and we're going to lose a bunch. And I need to know what we're talking revenue tax dollars compared, Quick Trip compared to 3 that I know of that may be pushed out of business, if you will. Because there's no way small mom and pop stores can compete with something of the nature of Quick Trip. Because we've also got Racetrack down the street from us.
The, during the process, none of the property owners have come forth through the planning and zoning hearing or at this time. However, it's good old American competition to locate across the street. You see that in Chinese restaurants. You see that in retail establishments. You even see it in gasoline sales up and through the mid-cities areas. Mom and Pop has to compete. Quick Trip, on the other hand, is a major corporation along with Racetrack, that they're also competitors, and also the other heavy hitters like Tom Thumb, Albertsons, Walmart. They have their own gasoline sales. So, and again, those are located on the opposite side of a major thoroughfare, catching traffic across the street, possibly, northern-bound traffic as opposed to southern. Quick Trip is going to be predominantly southerly bound traffic, particularly if TxDOT looks at, or if the city looks at no left turn issue. So it's not the death of those. I would think that it would help augment good old American competition.
And the other one, I don't even know where my notes are. I'll have to think about my other one for a second.
Any other questions for Mr. Pliska? Okay, James, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
We stand by. We may need you
Yes, sir.
again here, particularly. This is a public hearing, and members of the public are welcome to come up and make comments. Mr. Foster, did you want to come up and make a few comments? Sure. Come on up and introduce yourself.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. Thank you for having us here tonight. I'm not going to go into the history of Quick Trip. We were here just a few months ago, but I do want to just address a few of the questions real quickly. My name is Joe Faust, 14450 Trinity Boulevard, Suite 300, Fort Worth, Texas. As far as locating and blocking visibility to the building to our rear, I worked extensively with William C. Jennings Company, who is the owner of this property. We initially located this site in January of 2004, and we did not place it under contract until just earlier this spring. And the reason being is I worked with the William C. Jennings Company, and the negotiation in our contract had to work with, like as James said, the visibility and also the easements that we worked out. We had separate from even our contract, we worked out an REA, which is a reciprocal easement agreements that gave us sanitary sewer easements, access easements, construction easements, all to make sure that this is development that'll be here for the long term. We slid our building as far as we could to the south, as Mr. Pliska mentioned, and also our building is only just over 4,900 square feet, is not large in size, is only 1 story tall. Our gas canopy, as you know, I'm sure all of us here have seen a Quick Trip in Haltom City. You don't. It's not massive. It's 15 feet high. It's not going to block the entire store. Also, when we carved out this property, we left enough land to our north so that whoever decides to locate in the building to our rear, that they can put up and permit another sign on Denton Highway, so they'll have visibility to their sign. We left enough frontage for that. And as Mr. Pliska mentioned, we have taken the time to study the parking, the remainder of parking, and we've laid out what we feel will be very more than acceptable for whatever does decide to locate there, whether it be a sports authority or a PetSmart or something similar in nature. As far as tax revenue, a single Quick Trip averages probably $95 to $100,000 in city taxes per year, and that includes sales tax and property tax. Additionally, we also provide just a little over $1 million that goes to the state, and that is in our fuel and gas tax. That doesn't directly go to the city. However, the state disperses the funds, and it goes locally to roads and state-funded roads and projects in the area from which it came. So if it came from Haltom City, that $1 million would go towards Denton Highway and other local streets and thoroughfares. So I'm here for any other questions you may have. Also, Robert with Leonard Engineering is here to assist us on any kind of questions for the plat or drainage or any kind of questions in similar nature.
Thank you, Mr. Faust. Any questions, Mr. Faust? Thank you. Appreciate it. Any other comments for or against from the public? There being none, I'll close the public hearing and entertain a motion to dispose. Mr. Sutton.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to move to approve final plat number P-010-06
Mr. Holcomb.
on the first reading.
Thank you, Mayor. It's first, second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the final plat P-010-06. Any further discussion? Please register your vote. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for, and 1 against. Got it? Next item on the agenda, item number 8. That's a public hearing for fiscal year 2006-2007 budget. Conduct a public hearing for consideration and action regarding the fiscal year 2006-2007 budget for the City of Haltom City, the Crime Control and Prevention District, and the Economic Development Corporation. Ordinance O-2006-016-03, consideration and/or action regarding the approval of an ordinance adopting the budget for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2006, and ending September 30th, 2007, in accordance with the Charter of the City of Haltom City. This will be for the first reading. Mr. Welch, will you tell us about this?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor.